Good evening. This is the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission meeting. Today is November 19th. I call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. David, can you please help us with the roll call?
Yes. Chair Gaga,
Yes.
Vice Chair Eshelbeck.
Here.
Chair Matipala. Chair Marcy. Chair Wolf.
Here.
We have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you, David. So the first item is the approval of minutes. It's incorrectly published August 20th Bicycle Pedestrian Commission minutes. That's what has been posted instead of the October 15th. David, do you want to?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the incorrect minutes were provided with agenda packet, and in response to that, I proposed postponing this item until the December Bike Commission meeting, where we will provide the correct draft October minutes for commission approval at that time.
Yeah, thank you, David. It was kind of late before we caught this error, and we couldn't make the corrections in time for today.
Unfortunately, that's the case. So we will be more vigilant in the future. So I apologize for that, but that's how we'll move forward with this one.
Thank you, and that's the item that we'll postpone for the next meeting. And
do we need to make a motion postponement, or is it
no, I don't.
Motion on this. So any other postponements, David? No. The next item is the oral communication, and this is for the items that are not on the agenda. The public can have 3 minutes to make their comments. Any speaker cards?
We have no speakers in person and no speakers on Zoom, Chair.
All right, thank you. So any return communications?
No.
All right, so with that, we move on to the first item or the second item on the agenda. That's agenda item number 2. It's a new business. This is Bicycle Pedestrian Commission's roles and responsibilities. David Stillman will take us through it, and we are already published a brief as well as part of this agenda item. So the goal here is to discuss the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission's roles and responsibilities that are already part of the municipal code. And also there were some discussions in the council, and we have also discussed prior in 2022 regarding the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission's guidelines for approving projects and so on. And so kind of today we'll be looking at this comprehensively and restating, what our roles and responsibilities, and if at all anything else needs to be, considered as an action item. Thank you. With that, David, can you please take us through this?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. So as the Chair mentioned, I'll just be reviewing the current powers and functions of the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission as stipulated by our municipal code, as discussed at previous Bike Commission. The item of this particular topic was also discussed at the City Council meeting a couple of months ago, and so I'll review that and briefly discuss a memo that staff has prepared, a draft memo that staff has prepared that will address council direction at that meeting. So start off with the municipal code and what's prescribed there in section 2.92.080 for the powers and functions of the Bike Ped Commission to review, monitor, and suggest recommendations for city transportation matters, including but not limited to bike and ped traffic, parking, education. To fill the mission, the commission involve itself in the activities listed there, monitor and update the bike transportation plan and ped transportation guidelines, to suggest recommendations, review and monitor the city's general plan transportation element, receive public input pertaining to bicycle and pedestrian transportation and infrastructure issues. Make recommendations regarding implementation of roadway and transportation improvements as it needs. Make recommendations regarding the allocation of funds of capital expenditures relating to bike and ped transportation, or kind of the catch-all, any other activity that may be deemed appropriate and necessary. In 2022, this was discussed at the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, where the commission specifically wanted to provide a little bit more detail or get a little bit more clarity, provide a little better direction to staff on what types of projects that they would like or expect to see brought to them for review and discussion. And at that meeting, this was the motion that was approved. Any projects that would be brought to the Bike Commission include bike or ped projects which involve a permanent change to vertical elements within the street between existing projects with community outreach, bicycle or pedestrian projects which are heard as a council discussion item, except items requested by council to be heard directly. Staff recommendations for active traffic control devices such as stop signs, traffic signals, crossing guards. Whenever the council requests that the bike and commission hear item and make a recommendation. Major development projects, both on-site and off-site improvements, only if more detailed or if it differs from that prescribed in the approved bike plan. Or any other items that fall within the commission's mission statement per the Muni Code that I just reviewed with you. Then in September of this year, staff went to the city council to discuss what transportation items should or should not be considered by the planning commission and the bicycle commission, and to provide a little clarity on division of responsibility among those two commissions with respect to bike and ped projects. And a brief version of that motion, omitting the non-relevant portions to the discussion tonight. No change to section 2.92 of the Muni Code, which we read earlier. So the powers and functions of the Bike Commission as prescribed in the Muni Code would remain exactly the same. They wanted to ensure the commission carries out its responsibilities, in particular under section 2.92080B, which include reviewing, making recommendations, and monitoring the city's general plan transportation element, because it discussed at the council meeting specifically that the Bike Commission hasn't really been involved in review of the transportation element, or now as it's called, the mobility element of the general plan in the past, and they would like to see that done in the future. And to develop additional policy on increased transparency around a specific class of projects. So the council expressing concern that, some projects, they would like to perhaps see more projects come to them for review and approval in the future, and they wanted staff to develop recommendations on what types of projects and under what circumstances that would occur. So in response, staff has developed a draft policy which was provided as an attachment to the agenda tonight, which gives in greater detail, but summarizing it here, it describes circumstances under which projects are brought to the council for review and direction. Nothing in that policy document conflicts with what the Bike Commission determined back in 2022 in terms of the types of projects that they would like to see. And additionally, in response to discussion that happened at the city council meeting, it does provide for a joint BPC and planning commission meeting under some circumstances to discuss certain types of projects. And there's a flow chart that was provided in the policy document and that we put up here that summarizes the document. And just reading through it here, when staff initiates a transportation project, first we would determine, well, does the project, and really this is determining more of if it ends up going to city council, not so much if it comes to the Bike Commission, which would be determined by the Bike Commission's motion back in 2022. So first, does the project have the potential, or does it remove or reduce vehicle lanes or affect intersection or vehicle circulation? If the answer to that is yes, then that project at some point will go to city council for discussion. If it doesn't, then go down to the next step. Does the project involve potentially substantial community or fiscal impacts? For example, redesign of corridors, a new, say, bike and ped bridge, a trail, anything of, high community interest, say, Bragner Creek Trail, Tammy. If it does, then that would go to the city council. If not, then let's go down. Next question, is it a high level planning doc? Bike plan update, ped plan update, active transportation plan, vision bureau, something of that nature where it's not project specific, but deals more with overall policy and, looking towards the future. If it does, then we would hold a joint commission review. So the planning commission would get involved in those types of projects. There'd be a joint commission between the bike commission and the planning commission that would discuss it. And at that point, if in the future, it would likely go to city council. But because of the scope of the document and because generally high level planning documents require a city council adoption ultimately at the end of the process. So those would go to city council approval. And then if the answer to all of those questions is no, then it would be a project that would stay within the purview of the bicycle pedestrian, and it would fall under one of those items that I talked about in the previous slide. And not go to the city council. And then staff would incorporate, regardless of the path, staff would incorporate obviously the commission and council or council direction that was provided. Implement. So that's a summary. And again, that was a draft document. So I'm open to noting any thoughts or concerns you may have on that proposed policy. Of course, the commission is also welcome to comment on or discuss the previous 2022 motion if there are changes, that you see to that aren't inconsistent with council's direction a couple months ago, then that's something they'd be considered also. So with that, I'll close the presentation and happy to answer any questions.
All right, I think the commission would have had an opportunity to review the memo as well. David, one clarifying question, like that memo is a proposed policy memo that eventually needs to be approved by the council, right? Before it gets.
Yes, the council, I don't know at this point if it will go formally to city council for approval. At a minimum, it will go to city manager and then it will be provided to council in a memorandum or an informational item or something of that nature so that they are aware of the policy. But so they will see it. I don't know at this point if it'll be a formal action item approval or not. That will be up to the city manager discussion with her.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to that question. Any other clarifying questions to David on any of the points presented?
Had one question. So this flow chart here, it almost seems to be that step 1, 2, and 3 are skipping the bike ped commission, or is it still bike ped commission advising and then council making a decision? Or it's not clear to me. It almost makes it sound like the bike ped commission is only involved in step 4, but I don't think that's.
Yeah, no, that's not the intent. So I apologize if that wasn't clear. So all of these projects would go to the bike commission as long as they were within the 2022 motion of the types of
Okay,
projects.
yeah.
So this is only to clarify what projects would go also.
There's a final
to the
approval
city council
authority.
or potentially to the planning
Planning
commission as
commission.
well. But any project within the 2022 list would go to the bike commission.
Got it. But that's also pretty much what the case is today, because in most cases, when we made recommendations, city council very often was the final approval authority, right?
Yes,
So that.
and this would, yes, that is true, but there's the expectation that there would be, I think, an extra level of detail, transparency perhaps on some of the projects that would get vetted through the city council that haven't at that level of detail in the past.
I see. Okay.
Commissioner Bodipan.
So thank you, David, for reiterating and confirming, the roles and responsibilities of Bike Commission. The one of the statements that I saw there, was a little bit troublesome. So it almost appeared like, lack of transparency. So it's almost felt like, we are silently winging projects under the hood, without anybody's knowledge. So we need to level it up, for transparency. That's the way that I interpreted it. So I'm trying to understand, where is that happening and why is that even a topic of discussion, right? So, and what is that staff is doing to change that, right? Like, I didn't see anything that said, yeah, this is what we are hearing as, some kind of a lack of transparency is what we are doing, to level it up, right? That part is not clear to me.
I understood. So there's been sentiments expressed that some of the processes aren't transparent enough. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying this is what has been heard. And that perhaps a lot of projects that we bring to the Bike Commission because a lot of the community isn't engaged with what's happening at the Bike Commission, perhaps that those projects don't necessarily get heard to the level that they would if they were brought to a body like the city council. Plus, the city council, I believe, would like that ability to get some more detail into some of these projects and to be able to address some of the concerns that are held. So, whereas we have been trying to be transparent throughout, all these processes and bring items to the Bike Commission so that the public has a chance to hear them and comment on them, and you do as well. And to incorporate those, there's a sense that there should be a higher level of public engagement than that.
Any specific examples given in terms of, this project, we totally lack transparency and somehow, this thing swung under the hood?
Well, I mean, the white elephant in the room, the Deanza Buffer Bike Lane project.
Deanza Buffer Bike Project. Okay.
Right, that perhaps that wasn't vetted enough in terms of the fact that there would be vehicle lanes eliminated on certain segments of the roadway. And so in order to make sure that design features like that, which have the potential to impact traffic, that don't just benefit bikes, that have a broader potential impact, that those have a wider review and discussion than just the Bike Commission, and then implementation by staff, and then all the council would award the contract, say. So this is to ensure that those sort of potential impacts get highlighted a little bit more clearly.
Okay. So there's a overall feeling that that project was somewhat rushed and and not thought through or whatever, right? So that lack of transparency or whatever, right? Because
I wouldn't say rushed, or not thought through. I just, again, what I've heard, is that that there's a desire for a higher level of review and approval than was provided for that project.
I mean, similar issue came up, and that's the reason why March 22, we went through this, what projects should be reviewed by the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission as well. But anyway, we'll come back to it while discussing it. And Commissioner Marshall.
I have a question regarding the city council motion, because the flow chart here was not part, like this joint commission review was not part of the city council motion. So I was curious as to how it came about and if it was something that the planning commission asked for.
This was something that So it was discussed at the city council meeting and they wanted staff to consider joint commission meetings for some types of projects. Because there was a desire that the planning commission have some involvement in certain projects that are more broad in nature, overall planning documents that the council did not necessarily want them to have sole review of certain projects in terms of design level, but they still wanted their involvement in overall planning types of documents. And so
So David,
and so there's language here in, say, a substitute motion in terms of determining, regarding whether a joint or separate meeting is appropriate between the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission and the Planning Commission. So this is staff attempting to address that concern or that desire that the Planning Commission have some ability to review and comment on these documents without providing, turning over a complete role and responsibility in that nature to the Planning Commission and keeping it generally within the Bike Commission. And again, this is something that the council will see. And if it's something that's ultimately decided, no, we don't want a joint meeting, we just want the Bike Commission to maintain, authority over reviewing of those types of documents, then that we would incorporate that moving forward. But based on what we heard that night at the city council meeting, this was our attempt to capture the council sentiment and the motion that was made.
maybe we'll again come back to the discussion, because this is a proposed document, and I think the commission as such should also be able to provide input on that. Thank you. And yes, Commissioner.
So I have one question. So this March, what is it, the March 2022 meeting of the Bike Ped Commission, there was a motion that passed. So this is the first I've ever heard of it. So we're not really, are we working within these guidelines and I don't know about it? And this is somewhat, it's not in the municipal code.
No, it's not in the municipal code. That's consistent with what's in the municipal code. It was just that the municipal code isn't, it was, the commission wanted to provide more clarity to staff on what types of projects they would like to see. And so that discussion was made in order so that we are very clear in terms of if there's a project of this type, if there's, traffic signal that's being proposed, the commission would like to know about it and potentially discuss it, which is why that language about active traffic control devices was included in there. So, because there's always that question, well, should we take a traffic signal to the Bike Commission? I mean, it kind of falls within the powers and functions because there's that catch-all at the end, but do they really care about traffic signals? Because it's not really, it's more of a vehicle control device. And so that was the commission's attempt to be clear that yes, that and other items is they would be interested in discussing and providing input toward. So that was just more to help us so we know what to bring to you and so that you have an expectation that if a project like that were to arise, you would be able to hear it.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's a valid point that it's not well known, right? The public should know about it, staff should know about it, right? The council should know about it. So which means that if BPC has given the clarification, I think maybe it's a good idea to revisit what we have as objectives in the bicycle pedestrian website, and some of them are a little bit dated. And you may want to provide a link there to address that kind of, but we'll bring it back for discussion and then, talk about that. With that, you have one more clarifying question.
So I just wanted to make sure I understood the original council substitute motion that was passed. It says, at the end, it says the council should consider updating the code regarding the planning commission as a separate item on the same topic, as the commission may lack expertise for certain aspects of transportation study. Does that mean that I looked at this flow chart, is that what we're doing here tonight? We're looking at, I see some transfer of responsibility to the planning commissioner, sharing the responsibility.
I wouldn't say it's a transfer of responsibility. It's
Sharing?
well, it's It's allowing them the opportunity to review and comment on high-level planning documents. Is what it is. And by holding the joint commission, then you eliminate the potential for, say, conflicting guidance or thoughts, because it can all be discussed in one room at the same time, and a motion made that gives clear direction to staff or to council on what's.
But I think it's important to acknowledge what you said earlier, David, that in all those 4 steps, the bike commission is the primary. commission.
Yes, yes.
I think that's it.
Yeah, this does
not come out of the
No way.
flow chart as well here. Yeah, exactly. Does not come out here, but
Yeah, there was no sense in a city council meeting that anything should bike commission.
So not even sent, like they reiterated that the same point, like the unique what stays as is. It's just that reiterated that bicycle pedestrian commission should also look at the responsibilities which, like, for example, reviewing the general plan element.
Right.
Transportation element, right?
Which is already in there. It's just, it hasn't really been done in the
It's not
past.
been-
So we just have to make sure, that's on us,
Correct.
to make sure to bring it to the bike commission for review next time the general plan is updated.
I would say that the flow chart is something that is ambiguous right now, and it should be, discussed when we come back for deliberations. I think let's talk about that. So Mark, do you have any clarifying questions?
In terms of joint commission review, like, how does that work in terms of voting? For example, if someone makes a motion, like who votes for what? Is something that you tell us already more about?
Yeah, that's to be worked out. Yeah, we'll have a chance to explore that maybe in January. If we're considering a joint commission meeting to this, when we bring the active transportation plan back.
Okay, so we'll,
And joint meetings have been done in the past with other projects.
How did that?
when it was not, okay, so I think it's not sorry, go ahead.
No, how did that work then?
I'm trying to remember how, it's been several years and I maybe,
But they were not decision making. They were usually.
they were just providing input to, yeah, and that might be the way we do it this time is we just listen to the input from the commissions and take that forward.
Okay, any more clarifying questions? So if now let's go to public comments. So public has 3 minutes to make any comments. Do we have any speaker cards?
Mr. Chair, please speak back cards.
Okay, please.
Later put the timer once. Stop.
Okay, our first speaker is R. Sudesh, followed by Seema Linskog, followed by Helene Davis. Welcome, R. Sudesh.
Good evening, commission members and city officials. I'm 25-year of Cupertino. I have biked to work for the majority of the time. And I've seen how our infrastructure has improved over the years. Thanks to the city, thanks to the bike commission. Especially, I was on the street on McLennan when the terrible accident happened. And my route is also going down Tantown, and as we all know, a terrible accident happened there too. And these 2 incidents really hit me very closely. And I am very grateful that there's been a tremendous improvement in our infrastructure for the safety of cyclists, pedestrians. What I would like to say is, all cyclists are car drivers, at least I don't. But not all car drivers are cyclists. So cyclists really has a point of view from both sides. So I think we do know that we need safe streets, safe passage. We do know how distracted drivers are. Of course, there are cyclists who are not obeying laws too. I'm not saying that, but there are far more serious consequences of cars hurting a person or even killing people. I mean, yes, I have killed a scooter. on my bike. But, we are really comparing two very different power structures here. A car is a 4,000-pound machine capable of destroying, while a cyclist or a pedestrian has really got no power. And I think it is our job, it is our duty, it is our responsibility to protect these people. So the Bike Commission has always been a very active and very strong proponent for all these things. And why are we even discussing that power from that commission has to be shifted to somewhere else? The Planning Commission has got enough job responsibilities, so let them do what they're supposed to do. And put personal
Thank you, that
vendettas.
is your time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Seema Linscock, followed by Helene Davis. Welcome, Seema.
Hey, thank you. Commissioners, I just wanted to come and say a few things, and I'm on the City Planning Commission, but I'm speaking as myself today. So a couple of things. One is, things go to the council anyway, right? And so I don't know that we need to have what was listed in the flow chart the way it was listed. I think the issue, if there's an issue of transparency and there's an issue that the council doesn't understand necessarily the projects that are being recommended for them to vote on, then that is a responsibility for staff to make sure that the reports are written differently, and maybe more, images, more clarity around what is being proposed. I would also recommend that, so rather than creating a different flow structure, maybe just focus on what the report structure should look like. That it creates more clarity, because things go to the council anyway. The other thing I would recommend is take a look at the motion that the Planning Commission passed on the scoring criteria for the ATP. And one of the things we looked at there is we focused on impact rather than infrastructure change. So if there is a car lane that's being taken away, don't look at, okay, blindly, there's a car lane being taken away, or there's parking spaces being taken away, and therefore it should go to the council. Look at the impact of that. So I think in the motion, we said something like, if it's less than 10% of the overall road where the car lane is being taken away, then maybe it doesn't qualify as a high enough impact that it has to go to the council. If it's parking spaces that are not being used, that are being taken away, then there's not much impact, and therefore it doesn't need to go to the city council. So focus on impact rather than the infrastructure change itself. So that's the other thing I would say should be the criteria. And the second thing is, I know you said it's not taking away the authority of the Bike Ped Commission, but it really is. This is very much an exercise in stripping away the powers of the Bike Ped Commission. This would create a shared authority where you cannot move forward on a project until you've had a joint meeting on the ATP or the Vision Zero plan or whatever with the Planning Commission. And if you haven't had that, you cannot move forward. That is a shared authority. Whatever you want to call it, that is a shared authority, and it strips authority away from the Bike Ped Commission and makes the Bike Ped Commission less powerful than all the other commissions in the city. And I don't think you should be complicit in that. I don't think you should agree to that. If the council wants to do it without your consent. Thank you.
Thank you, Seema. Our next speaker is Helene Davis.
Okay, hi, commissioners and staff. I'm Helene Davis, and I'm speaking as a private citizen who's lived here a really long time. Anyway, my few thoughts. My first one was, I'm not sure why it's necessary for the Planning Commission to get involved. It was the same question that you had, but then I guess you sort of answered that. That was something that you were trying to solve because the council possibly suggested that. But I personally feel that having them involved it's not their purview or their function. And I'm especially concerned that the Planning Commission doesn't have the background knowledge about all of the projects that have come before the Bike Ped Commission, not even just in the last few months, but maybe the last few years. And then all of a sudden you're having a joint meeting with the Planning Commission that hasn't really been involved, have all of that historical knowledge. So that's a concern, that they should really be advising on these issues. And when I was on the Parks and Rec, we had a joint commission meeting with, I had been Bike Ped, I don't know, but we weren't, that many people in a room, 10 people, are you kidding? Anyway, I'm also concerned, just as Seema said, that it's maybe a way to take away some of the power of the agency of the Bike Ped Commission. So keep that in mind when you have your discussion. And I just want to say, keep up the good work for being a voice for pedestrians and bicyclists and other people that use active transportation.
Thank you. We have no remaining speakers in person and no hands raised on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you, and we'll bring the discussion back to the commission. Yeah, I think I'll give some background, like what add to what David already mentioned. There is definitely a perception, and that's why actually there were two set of discussions that the study session happened in the council as well. As to the bicycle, if you go and look at the core, Bicycle Pedestrian Commission has authority to review, even general transportation element. And the other thing is like looking at any and all transportation matters, right? If you look at, there's a catch-all phrase even in the Muni code that talks about that. But then if you look at what's happening in the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission is, you can go back and look at the agenda items. Most of the items that are coming in here for review are lopsided on bicycle and pedestrian projects. And if you go even look further, it's actually bicycle projects compared to even pedestrian projects. And ATP, you can see that the community has clearly provided input saying that prioritize on pedestrian, because if you look at last statistics for the last several years, it shows that the pedestrian related KSI, which is, killed and serious injuries and fatal injuries, that actually is raising, and which means we need to be focusing on that as well. And that's another thing that's going on, right? So I think the Bicycle Commission, Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, I would say, we mentioned multiple times that we talk about Bike Commission. It's not just Bike Commission, right? Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, and we have the authority to look at other transportation elements as well. So the point here is, I think it needs to be balanced and look at comprehensively. Like if you look at Vision Zero, it's a multimodal, safety plan, which means that you're not only looking at bicycle safety and pedestrian safety, you're also looking at safety of all motorists. As one of the public speakers said, all of us, including pedestrians, are also motorists. But at different points in time, like a motorist goes and parks the car and then walks to a facility or a shopping center, then the same person becomes a pedestrian. So it's not like, one versus the other, right? It's the question of how do we balance it out in making sure that, we as a motorist are still safe to drive on the roads, and we as pedestrians are safe to walk on the streets, and we as bicyclists are safer to ride on our roads as well, right? So that this is basically what we need to be looking at. And people might come and lobby for certain things. That's okay. But as the commissioners, as a commission as a whole, we need to be looking at it more holistically and then providing inputs. And that's basically what the council reiterated, right? Another point that came up here is, I don't know with the flow chart, it's not that the council really clearly said that, okay, it needs to be a joint commission meeting or anything like that, right? So the question is, they wanted certain projects that impact the overall city-wide, like, major corridors, like you're making some changes to the major corridors where traffic is flowing through and that's causing other issues with the city. Or if you're bringing in a new building element or something like that, and that causes more traffic-related issues in the city, in which case it's possible that the Bicycle Commission might have to review the general plan element, as well as the Planning Commission has to review anything related to the affect the citywide plan. So The question is, it's also possible that, it could be decided in the bicycle pedestrian commission, and also go to the planning commission, and then eventually the advice of both these commissions can go to, so that way it's a Brown Act meetings in both places, and, both the commissions can take action as well. So I think this is also something that you need to be considering. I think this is staff's attempt at writing the policy document, and our commission should have input on reviewing this and making sure that the commission is aware of the roles and responsibilities, and as well as the commission is aligned on what the council wants us to do. Thank you. With that, I will open up for, comments by other commissioners as well.
Yeah,
I would like to go first.
Yeah, I'll go next. So, I mean, I looked at the flow chart, right? So I understand, people's concerns, general, but I don't see anything wrong here, right? Like, for example, all commissions serve as an advisory body to the council, right? So that's just given. So we're all advisory, not like, and all major projects have to go to city council anyway, right? So there is no change here, right? So yes, Bike Commission is involved in all of those, and things that are major go to city council. And if there is something, that impacts planning and, the overall city, how it's evolving, then maybe, there is a need for a joint commission meeting. So there's nothing wrong with it. I've seen quite a few planning commission and the housing commission joint meetings, right? So where it's to do with the housing element, and, so it impacts both commissions. So they had a lot of joint meetings. So I don't see anything wrong with that. So I mean, this is not about power. I really know I'm not a power guy, right? So this is about, doing what is right. So if there are major projects, that needs to be, reviewed by city council or planning, I see nothing wrong with it. So that's just my take.
Commissioner Marcy?
So we as a commission serve as the pleasure of council. We're a consultative body, so we don't make any decision, we just make recommendations. And so if you take a look at the first items, like Commissioner Mooney mentioned, there's no change. Like city council has to approve. Like any construction, they hold the strings of the purse anyways. So any construction project cannot happen without the consent of council. So I think the first one here are nice points, step 1 and step 2, but they don't change anything because you need city council approval. What city council recommended was for this very commission to get even more, I would say more power, or even to retake some of the stuff that we didn't do before, which is around more transportation. Now, David, what you mentioned and what's kind of worrying is that the elephant in the room are the DNZA deferred bike lanes, the lack of transparency that happened with that project, where we had very vocal members of the community expressing their displeasure at the fact that these changes would not have been done, although they all went through council, right? They all went through council, they were all voted, they were all on the agenda. So the transparency effect was maybe not enough, but the transparency was. Now, the problem that I have with this is that we have the chair of the planning commission. If I look at now the step 3, it says the high level planning document is bike plan updates, active transportation plan, studies. So Vision Zero, I'm assuming would be somewhere in there. And we have a chair of the planning commission who spoke always on his behalf, like on his own, like for himself, at city council regularly, saying that he did not want an active transportation plan, that he wanted to take away the Vision Zero plan. And so I'm kind of worried here, because if that individual is saying that these things have to come to the planning commission, then that's going to be interesting, to say the least. What also caught my attention here is that it says bike plan updates, active transportation plan, and studies. And maybe, I know it's maybe something like that you're working on, it's not over, studies, but that would mean that every project has a study. And so every project would go through that joint commission review.
We could probably better clearly define studies, but that's not the intent that every project would go through joint commission review.
But that, in this effect here with that wording, that would be the case, unfortunately.
Yeah, and maybe studies need some better definition. Let me.
And as I'm saying, the devil is in the details, because if we start looking at wording and do things like that, I mean, this can be a public mention, that can be a complete power grab, because then we have projects and things that are being voted on a joint commission that we don't know exactly how it's going to be voted, and some things are applied to that joint nebulous joint commission review process. And I think that's going to lead, I think, more conflict on for the planning commission, which again is here for, land usage. It's not here for transportation. And so I think we're introducing complexity, we're introducing friction. And my recommendation would be to remove this step 3, this joint commission. The rest is fine as it is. It's the way we work today. I think we want more, not authority, but expand our scope to transportation in general, which is what City Council asked us to do in the resolution, and we want to do that. But I think that adding this joint commission review is gonna, again, introduce friction, complexity, and I don't think it's gonna help with transparency. I think we can help with transparency by making clear, as in the public said, by having a more defined agenda maybe, or putting some nice drawings to explain what's going on. But I don't think that we are going to achieve, if the elephant in the room is the DNSAP preferred bike lane, and some people don't want that to happen again because they haven't seen that, because they didn't look at the documents. And if it has to be made clearer to them, then we can do that in other ways than through that nebulous joint commission here review process.
Thank you, Commissioner Marshall.
And just to clarify, if I may, if you look within the text of the policy, corridor-wide mobility studies is what would be included with studies. So if we did say a look at all of Bollinger Road, for example, and a project that, like the one that we had originally included with the CIP that was later defunded, something like that would fall under corridor-wide.
Corridor? Again.
Right. So, but that's the intent. So it's not the smaller projects, it's.
Yes, but.
Yeah.
Commissioner Sherlock.
Well, so I feel like a lot of what we see here is how we operate today, and obviously it has been discussed. I don't think it's the new kind of step here, and quite honestly, I don't have an issue for the planning commission to provide input to bicycle pedestrian projects. I think that's just generally good practice. I also see no issue if they are part of. I mean, this is really a question of how do we word this step 3 in terms of make the word. If we just focus on one word here, we broaden this word, or maybe make this word a little bit more specific so that it clearly.
So it's the text of the policy.
Yeah.
Covered, not.
Again, I'm just reacting here to what has been discussed here before. So I think if we clarify that a little bit more, I see absolutely no issue with the planning commission making additional recommendations based on their view, because I mean, it's for the city. It's not just for one particular aspect to think about this. So I see absolutely no issue with leaving that step 3 in there if we can make maybe the wording that's exactly in the policy document, make it in the flow chart as well. But what I said earlier, to me, I wanted to make sure that all of those are actually have first is the bicycle pedestrian commission, because that does not come on. That to me would be something that I would love to see updated in the document, and then maybe clarifying the step number 3 with updating the wording, make it consistent with the policy document.
Commissioner Marshall, please hold on. Let's complete one round of feedback. I'll come for a second round again. Thank you.
So I agree totally with Commissioner Marcy. So I won't repeat those, but I'd like to bring up a couple things. One is, I know the chair has mentioned that we're not so balanced. We're pedestrian heavy on the bikes and not on the pedestrians. And I would just add that I would agree with that. We need a lot of pedestrian and infrastructure improvements in this city. I walk all the time. I live very close to the corner of Deanne's and Stevens Creek. And I know that's a nasty intersection, which nothing's ever been done with it. It's in 40 years that I've lived here. But you just look at one intersection and the negative reaction that you get from the community of Wolf Road and Stevens Creek and the removal of those slip lanes, which made it a lot more safer for pedestrians. I walk through there all the time. We need more infrastructure like that. I'm afraid that, our goal here is to put it out there. We're an advisory commission. We try to improve walking and biking. And if we want to lean more heavily toward the walking aspect, I'm very, I'm fine with that because I think that's an important way of moving around the city. And is it the Carmen Bridge for walking? Great. I would like to see that. I see these are important things, but I think if we relinquish, any of our whatever, we don't really have power. We're an advisory commission. But if we start with this sharing with the planning commission on the really important stuff, bike plan updates, the active transportation plan, I can see that being very politicized. Important infrastructure projects being removed. We're an advisory commission. We put it out there. The council can do anything that they want with it. This doesn't really, I don't think this is going to make things any better for the community. And it probably will make things worse as far as the pedestrians and cyclists go. In fact, I have no doubt in my mind that it'll make things worse. We'll see less infrastructure improvements. We'll see, as Commissioner Marcy, I know that the chair of the planning commission is not in favor of a lot of this stuff. And he's spoken out against it. So this is not, he's the chair. We're going to be working with somebody that is against what we are responsible for doing. And I just, if the council wants to have the, we hand it to the council and let them do with what they want. I don't see the benefit of jointly meeting with the planning commission. I would remove step 3.
Okay, thank you for your comments, and I'll insert myself in the second round, and then we can. Well, I would like to take inputs from commission. In general, I don't see any issue with planning commission reviewing it. In fact, it's already been done. If you look at the active transportation plan, it went to the planning commission as well, and they did provided input. Right. The only thing which I would say is bicycle pedestrian commission provided inputs on the ATP, and we clearly said that that's a policy document, and there were enough comments made and then it was summarized, but then it was not presented to the council. Same thing, I think it went to the planning commission and that information was not presented to the council, right? The whole point is we are advisory commissions, and if you're going to the advisory commission and taking inputs, it needs to be presented to the council. They might use that advice or they might not use that advice, but the council needs to see it. That's what transparency is. Example of again, going back to the Dialza Boulevard project, it's a major corridor, right? It connects 2 different cities and runs through city of Cupertino. And then when there was, lane removals, of course, it was not, enough studies were not done. Because when it came to the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, I personally, I even asked, saying that, have we done any traffic studies? And it wasn't done. But then it's still, even Bicycle Pedestrian Commission did not do any action. Still, it went ahead and then the project was completed, right? The council, when it originally started the project, in fact, it is a city work program item. So council said that, okay, make safety improvements there. They don't have any issue with making safety improvements. The question is if that improvement affects the major corridor, traffic on the major corridor, then it's the responsibility of the staff to really take it back to the council or take it back to the respective commissions and making sure that that's addressed. Okay, that's an elephant in the room, but then I would say this document is clarifying, leaving that one incident aside, the reason why in 2022 this thing came up is some of the projects were not getting even reviewed by the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, and the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission wants to clarify as to what type of projects needs to come here and what types of projects we don't have to worry about, because if they are making a small signaling improvement, it doesn't need to come here. That's the reason why that was clarified there as well. So the question here is, whether it needs to be a joint meeting or not. My recommendation would be that, as the staff has stated in item number 3, if some of the items that are citywide affects the general, in general of the, how it affects the overall city, it's not just only the bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. Then in that case, it's okay for that item, like how ATP went to Planning Commission, it can go to Planning Commission, and Planning Commission also can weigh in on it. The question here is, for example, any of these plans should be debated and deliberated here, and then made sure that it needs to be. The commission should have an opportunity to provide an action item on this one. Same way, the Planning Commission should have an opportunity to take an action on that item, and that needs to be presented to the council. So the council makes a determination what needs to be done. So I think that's the clarification. My personal view is that's the clarification we need to make. And I don't see that the council really asked for a joint meeting, that the council asked for certain projects what projects needs to be reviewed by the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission and what projects needs to be weighed by the Planning Commission. Based on the appropriateness, I think both needs to be done. That's my point, and then I'll open up for comments.
If I may, Chair, just
Sure, please.
to read the motion from the City Council. Council should exercise prudence in referring items to the Planning Commission and Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, following staff recommendations regarding whether a joint or separate meeting is appropriate. So that was what they had regarding taking it to the Planning Commission, and I think this was our attempt to consider that. I will say that if you're suggesting maybe take it to each commission separately, that's certainly something we could do, but just with the understanding that does that will involve greater costs and greater timelines to get projects approved and implemented.
Well, these are anyway major projects, right? So I think it makes sense to go to the individual bodies and get acted on before it goes to the commission. Where the joint commissions, when as Commissioner Madhipatla said earlier as well, right? We have had joint commissions in the past. For example, the Blackberry Farm issue was jointly discussed as well, and there was Lawrence
meeting.
Mitty Park, right? That there was the joint meeting as well. The question is, those joint commissioners gave input, the staff took it, and they interpreted it and wrote it. It's not necessarily an action taken by the joint body, right? I think it makes sense for the individual bodies to weigh in on the project and take an action that goes to the council, in front of the council. So I think that's my, if the reason why if you want to have joint commission is because the other commission doesn't know about certain things, and then you want, the experts in the other commission wants to clarify that, then it makes sense to have a joint commission meeting. But otherwise, I don't think that is needed. And then, going to that commission itself is a good thing, right? So that they can weigh in and provide inputs as well. Yeah, that's my thought process. And any other comments?
Could the council, we say, for instance, we put out the active transportation plan, we vote on it, we approve it. The council can, at that point, can't the council just take it to say, well, they want to get the opinion from the planning commission, but they can move it as separately. We're not gonna meet with them jointly. The planning commission could hypothetically provide feedback on that plan, right? Is that outside their current scope?
If council requests that staff take a project to the Planning Commission, then we would take project to the Planning Commission.
So why do we need this? This flow chart that shows, it seems to me that we're not really doing anything. The council, they they have to lead on this. It's their responsibility at some point.
So because one of the friendly amendments that was made at the council meeting was to direct the city manager to develop additional policy on increased transparency around a specific class of projects. So this is our attempt to follow that direction from the council.
I mean, one thing I see here, it does look like, one of the things that does not come as obviously clear is that the city council is still the final approval authority, even on step 3. Because it sounds like the joint commission review would make the final decision, which I don't think is the intention here.
No,
But if you
back to
look,
council.
I mean, there's a dotted
Still
line
goes to
here.
the council.
There's a dotted line. So I think it's maybe we can clarify that a little bit more, that still the city council is the final decision-making body. But the input given by both the biped commission and the planning commission will be considered for the final decision-making. And if this is a joint meeting or 2 separate meetings, I don't have a strong opinion on that. To me, this is like, whatever is more efficient for the city, honestly. That would, I think, fulfill the spirit. I have no issue with that because the more input, the better. And I think in practicality, that is like projects of magnitude. We're doing an active transportation plan, not every month, not every year, every decade or so. So this is not like a big burden on anybody here by introducing those extra feedback cycles. And quite honestly, if we could reciprocate that and we could have the opportunity as a biped commission also to provide input to some big citywide building projects. Like we had this, I think it's the Westport project or the project that's on Mary De Anza in the De Anza area. It would have been awesome if we would have the opportunity to influence that project so that there's bike ways within the facility as well, just as an example. So therefore, I have no issue with the planning commission giving input here. To me, this is not a big deal.
Thank you, Commissioner Silver, Commissioner Modibar.
So I will try to be short, right? So I know we are getting hung up on that, the planning commission joint, that step. To me, that's, if there's an expectation that, we need to work together, I would rather do it this way than, sending my work, to the council and council sending it to planning commission. So that would be like almost, inserting this commission, right? Hey, they did something, go do a secondary review of that. I would rather work at the peer level and get it vetted and go jointly than going that way and coming down. Right. So that's just my observation. And I think we are spending too much time on that, right? So to me, the most important thing is the transparency, the word transparency, right? That is the part that we need to address because there is definitely a feeling that there is a lack of transparency, right? To me, that is more of a area to focus on, right? Not this the extra step in the flow chart. That I think I'm sure planning commission has enough on their plate. They don't need to be overseeing what we are doing, right? So I'll just leave it at that, right? So to me, the lack of transparency is the one that's sticking on my head as something that there is some work that needs to be done to improve that area.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Marson, do you have any?
Yeah, so I would definitely agree with Vice Chair Eshelbeck regarding the input from planning. It's not about refusing to have a dialogue or getting some input from the planning commission. I think that's fine if it's 2 separate steps. I made it abundantly clear that I don't believe that the joint commission review is the right process for that. But if it has to be like sequential, going from the bike pit commission to the planning commission, that's fine for things that staff believes that it's the right step. And I would absolutely agree with Vice Chair Eshelbeck regarding the other way around when projects are approved by the planning commission, that we also have an input about, for example, the transportation element that pertains to these specific projects. So I think again, this, and by the way, it's just the only item on the agenda today, so we can spend time on it.
Take all 24 hours.
But yeah, I think going sequentially and at the decision of staff to like you have the discretion and quite frankly, you are the ones who should make it clear to everybody what the agenda is and what's in the specific proposals to everyone so that there is no mistake about, oh, we thought that this thing happened without our consent. It has to be clear to everyone. Again, input from planning commission to the bike ped commission and the other way around for land use projects that impact transportation, that should be done as well. So I would definitely recommend to have that.
Okay, thank you. I think we have inputs from all. Yeah, so if item number 1, 2, and 3, for example, is making that clear, I think I see that the flow chart is also confusing, right? Because every single, if you could look at the vertical, flow, bicycle pedestrian commission is involved in it, right? And so, which is not very clear. Another thing is, like, it also shows that as if the last one doesn't have to go back to the council. No, it's possible that the last one, after the last one, it might go back to the council as well, right? You never know. So maybe you may want to, just clarify that and not create one more requirement, right? The point here is, what are the responsibilities? We reiterate the roles and responsibilities with the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, right? The Bicycle Pedestrian Commission also needs to review the general plan element. That's basically what the council recommended, right? And then on what projects needs to go to the city council for approval, right? So that needs to be very clear as well. Of course, they can request for any project to be approved, go back to them, but some cases it doesn't go. The smaller projects doesn't go. So what projects need to be elevated to the council level. And at that point in time, you need to take advice, the staff needs to take advice from both Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, take the advice to the council. At the same time, some projects will need planning commission input. Maybe some projects will need even Parks and Rec Commission input as well. Like, for example, the 2 projects I cited, right? You might have to take it back to the city council with those inputs as well. So, and that's the key point that you need to clarify in this policy document.
When you say clarify, what do you mean specifically?
Because otherwise the flowchart is going to get complex, because now every single point needs to be stated that Bicycle Pedestrian Commission needs to review it. And this shows as if BPC only reviews the last one. All the other things directly goes to even the council.
So
Yes.
we can ignore the flow chart because that was intended to help.
Exactly.
But if it doesn't, then tear that out. It's really the policy itself that is
Exactly.
following. So it would be helpful, I think, if there are specific changes or clarifications that you'd like to see that the policy is clear on. That would be helpful. And then we can revise a flow chart to make sure that it's accurately reflective of what the policy states if it's too ambiguous or.
So what I would think would be a solid criteria in order to have the approval from both commissions is planning takes care of land use and we take care of transportation. So I think anytime a decision is made that impacts the one or both at the same time, like if, for example, the active transportation plan has an impact on land use, I think that would be a valid reason to ask both commissions to give input. And if not, then that would be, if it's just a transportation matter that does not have an impact on land use, then that would be one that would only solely go to the Blackbird Commission.
These types of transportation projects generally have no impact on land use, which is why they haven't been taken to the planning commission in the past. So so then nothing would really go to the planning committee. I mean, it'd be kind of the way it's been.
Well, that's in the municipal code then, so that's what I'm.
Yeah. So again, this was following the direction of the city council to consider, whether a joint or separate meetings. And I'm hearing a lot of, but that it's not a bad thing. It may even be a helpful thing to have both commissions hear certain types of projects, not necessarily a joint commission because of logistics issues and things that perhaps doing a separate, like we've done with the ATP, might be the way to go for those types of
Yeah, but
projects.
if you do the staff feels, that's my recommendation, but then if the staff feels that, having a joint meeting makes sense because experts are able to make,
Okay,
you know,
so at our
participate in
discretion,
the
or the city
discussions,
manager's discretion.
then it makes sense to have a giant meeting as well. I wouldn't say, rule that out. The only problem I have seen in the past is it's left to the city's, staff's interpretation of what the joint commission recommended. Whereas in these cases, there's a very specifically, commission can take an action on, any of the plans or any of the items. And that's documented and goes to the council. It's not like how an individual interpreted it.
Yeah, and
That's the advantage of having it. And if you can really resolve that issue, even in a giant meeting, I'm all for it.
the disadvantage being that if the commissions could potentially have conflicting recommendations, and then it puts either the staff or the council in the position to disenfranchise potentially one of the commissions. So that would be, I mean, still possible at a joint meeting, but it's less likely because we're all together talking, but that's one of the potential pitfalls of separate.
But isn't that also for any project where the
Yes.
PED commission makes a recommendation and city council may disagree with us?
Sure, no, it's absolutely,
I don't think that's an
Yeah.
issue.
Even within commission, we have decided.
Yeah,
yeah. No, I mean, it's not it's.
I think the key message is we embrace the fact that both commissions give input and leave it up to staff what the best format is. If the format is a joint meeting or two parallel tracks as we did for the ATP, I don't think there's a need for us to codify that. That probably is something that the staff can make a decision. But I think the key message here is we embrace the fact that both commissions provide input to major projects like ATP, Vision Zero. I mean, not the little projects, but the big.
So that the classes of projects that we've identified, high level planning documents.
Yeah,
that we-
general plan elements.
Right.
Active transportation plans. I mean, that probably makes great sense.
I think there is, yeah, exactly. So I think as long as you can clarify that, and similarly, the commission has not been looking at other transportation, right? I think we should start to focus on that and also bring projects that are multimodal in nature, not necessarily only bicycle and pedestrian. That's up to the staff and maybe the chair to work together to make sure that when the agenda items comes in here, the commission also looks at holistic picture.
Within the framework of the 2020.
That's correct. Do you need any action here? I mean, that maybe if you think that it's the best for us to, give specific direction, we can do that. Otherwise,
I leave it up to you, Chair. I've received the input and the recommendations, and we can move forward with that if you want to have a formal motion so that we can carry that forward, that would be fine as well.
maybe I'll restate as a consensus. If everybody agrees, then we can leave it. Otherwise, what I heard is like some projects need to be elevated to the council. And before getting elevated to the council, if that project has a citywide impact, then in that case, it's possible that that project will also go to the planning commission. Examples like Vision Zero, like the two transportation plan and the likes, right? So those will also have to go to the planning commission. And I hear from the commissioners that depending upon the project, the staff or the city manager can make a determination whether it needs to be independently sent to the commissions or whether it needs to be a joint commission.
So basically, I mean, that I feel that this has already captured a lot of that. It sort of describes the types of projects that would go to the joint commission. So I perhaps what the motion would be that we would clarify that all of those projects get heard by the bike commission, because I heard that wasn't clear. And that the staff, at staff's discretion, we would decide whether it be a joint meeting with the planning commission or individual meetings with the bike commission, the planning commission, and the types of projects that would be subject to that discretion by staff would be the high level planning documents as we've kind of
As they're
described here,
listed.
as they're listed in the policy. No real change needs to happen to that list of project types that would
Correct.
be considered potentially at the planning commission. And that in terms of so that's really the only change is
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the previous page, like item number 2, for example, in the first one. That also is possible that, it could be a joint meeting or it could be a independent meeting as well, right? That's
The
not captured in item number 3, I think.
the projects
1.2,
1.2.
right? Project review by the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission.
Where, I'm sorry, along
You have it in your document,
1.2,
first page,
right?
and
Oh, because that talks about general
plan transportation element as well, and I'm sure like that's also possibly a joint or individual commission meetings.
The general plan, transportation element.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that is a project that I wouldn't say initiates, but I mean, it is a city council project or planning commission project, but we will also bring it to the bike committee.
exactly. So
It's not a transportation project that we look at elevating. It's an elevated project that we look at.
doesn't matter. Basically, it's
Down.
down responsibility to bring it to us as well.
Yes,
That's the point. That's the point here, right?
right. But again, this document isn't meant to talk about what projects the bike commission sees. It's meant to talk about what projects we take to city council. Right? The 2022 motion is what the bike commission sees along with the Muni code. This was meant to be a guide to staff in terms of which projects get elevated to city council and also what we would consider also taking to the planning commission. This doesn't change what the bike commission sees.
So, sounds good. I think the 22, what the motion, I think that should be also posted to the PPC website, so that way it is very clear.
We can do that.
Okay, maybe it's a good idea to take an action on this one, so that we talk many things. If there is a consensus,
We can do that.
is anyone wants to propose a motion?
I can propose a motion.
Okay, and
So the motion would be to follow the guidance of staff in terms of what projects are being brought to the bicycle pedestrian or to the planning commission.
Again, all of these projects brought to the bicycle.
Yes, basically, and potentially additional, sorry. Yeah.
So
Could we make it?
you say that again, Herman?
so that,
So, as I think it was said, as for, so staff will give guidance for the projects to be brought either to the bike commission and potentially also to the planning commission.
Okay, so
I think.
I think that's determined by the rules. That's not by staff.
Yeah, exactly.
Staff
That's what we said in the meeting, right? That we know like which one are being brought to the planning commission?
That's category 3 here. That's already written here. We don't need to change that. I think the only thing we said
The
is
only thing is the last page.
discretion at the staff level of being the planning commission and bike commission, two separate meetings or being one contiguous meeting. That's, I think, what.
Yeah, it should be different.
Yeah, so should we make it, staff under chair? I think, chair could also decide, hey, this project, probably the better idea to engage, the other commission.
I mean, ultimately, it city manager
Yeah.
or her designee. So Yeah, we wouldn't need to necessarily say me or Chad or it would, I mean, ultimately the city managers can decide. Yeah.
So
So,
all we are saying is the commission is reiterating the policy document here with some changes to it. The changes is basically what we are saying, there's a confusing element in the last page, which we wanted to remove it and say that, and give it, on the third item, we want to give discretion to the staff to determine whether it should be a joint meeting or the two separate meetings.
and you can change this. I'm just,
That's why you can just type this up and
Yeah.
we'll look at it here.
does that sort of capture?
Yeah, all projects are reviewed by the vice.
Oh,
And then we can remove the exhibit A. That's another thing.
exhibit A, modify exhibit A.
Yeah. Either modify or remove it, right? Because as long as you have the document, why do you need to have two people saying the same thing? And then it will be a difference. And website and make the necessary changes there because there are some older 2016 text was there in there, which is not up for. Yeah.
But Chair Eshelbeck, how can we put your idea of us having also an input on the planning commission? How can we put that in there?
So that's actually already in the policy.
It's already there in two item number. That's why I said like 1.2 already captures that.
And your 2022 policy also says that you'll review land use projects if what's being proposed is more detailed.
I think it's been memorialized, but I don't think we have been executing that. That's probably. what-
We have not been executing. That's the, yeah.
Okay,
That's why the commission was also saying the same thing because, sorry, council was doing the same thing. Even though they put that in motion, it's already there in the Muni code.
yeah.
It's just that commission was.
So maybe that's another meeting that we do in one of the upcoming meetings to review.
So how do you put that into action? What is it we are missing that's not being acted on? Is it like
To introduce
staff is not catching them and, and kind of engaging us or no? Or is it the job of, the commission or the chair to kind of look for those opportunities, kind of, bring it to the table? I'm just trying to see, where that's not being actioned on.
I think it's on us to recognize those opportunities and bring them to the.
Okay.
I know it can be difficult or because those development projects, they're very, long timelines and there's no obvious point in time where you bring the bike commission in to talk about it. So it's kind of on us, I think, to be vigilant and try to identify those opportunities when,
So should there be a
Maybe-
step in that flow that says, here is where, we need to assess, the need for transportation entity to kind of, do an assessment and see, do we insert the bike commission or no, do we let it go?
well, again, the purpose of this policy document is to determine which projects are related to city council, basically. So I think what you're looking for is maybe a flow chart or something that highlights how to implement the 2022 bullets, which is something I can bring back and
Yeah.
we can certainly
Yeah.
talk about, or I can try to put something together and,
It almost gives a parallel
We can
track.
state as item number 5 in there, saying that we recommend the staff to,
okay, yeah, we can include that.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, in the last one, 5, we can put item 5.
Okay.
Can I make a quick comment as a planning commissioner?
No, I think the public comment period is over, so we would like to be consistent.
Um, I should go back and look at the language of that motion. So,
It's in the presentation.
yeah, but I mean, the exact.
No, it's not, that's not the point what we are saying, right? What you are saying is the staff to look for opportunities to bring those projects to bring those items to the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission for review. That's basically.
Yeah. Oh, so that's what you want me to put in the motion?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
if the council is saying, we're not doing what we are expected to do, that means somewhere some ball is getting dropped, right? So-
I think quick transportation in general, because I think that's our mandates.
Yeah, I think transportation, yeah. Let's move away from bicycle and pedestrian.
Yeah, transport, because we already know the bicycle and pedestrian, yeah. Because there are two places where the, city Unicode says that. Right, there is a catch-all phrase for all transportation, when the other one is the city general plan transportation, and those two things don't come here. And so it's good, I think the staff might be executing on your own, but there are certain projects you may want to bring it here. Yeah.
It's interesting that in the language that you are reading, that where it says, in addition to, bike and pedestrian, so it's almost implied that, that's the only thing that you guys are focusing on, you need to focus on the broader thing.
Exactly.
So if,
No, it's not only private development project, right? I mean, you were saying, what is it like, opportunities to bring related transport improvements to the
Government projects, right? It doesn't have to be.
Private can be
It doesn't
removed,
need to be
yeah.
private, right?
Scratch the private.
Yeah, you can remove the private, yeah.
Well, that's what we're talking about, though.
Well, see, if you look at, that's one point, right? The second point is, in general, any transportation matters, city transportation matters can come here as well.
Right.
That's what the CMC says, right? If you look at the catch-all point, and one specific item in that one is the general plan transportation element. So neither one of them comes here.
So you just want us to say we're just look for opportunities to bring any transportation project to the bike commission?
Appropriate ones, right? We are looking for the staff to really
Okay.
bring the appropriate projects for our review, right, where it makes sense.
Okay.
As opposed to staff or city manager executing on it on their own, where we don't have transparency, right?
Bring appropriate development project.
I think he just wants any transportation project.
Appropriate.
appropriate transportation projects to BPC for comment, right?
Just say
Sorry,
project.
why transportation project? Talking about development, right?
Development, yeah.
Yeah, develop,
So no transportation, so
yeah, development.
opportunities to bring appropriate.
Yeah, so I thought we were talking about private development.
Development projects, not transportation, development projects. Remove transportation altogether. Sorry.
Appropriate,
Related transportation improvements to.
appropriate development project.
Projects related to, you don't even need to put the requirements there, just
Yeah.
projects related to
Right.
transportation improvements.
And not related, like with an impact on transportation, maybe?
Yeah,
That
impacting
makes sense.
transportation.
Yeah, that makes
Impacting it.
impact the transportation. Improvements also not needed there.
Well, that's vague. Impacting transportation.
But it's appropriate, so you kind of bring us.
Yeah.
Well, then you're gonna see every development project and
Not really, because
again, impact is vague, like that put cars on the street. I mean, and so the process is we require projects to do transportation studies as part of their development permit.
So this is
And-
like okay, David, like this is an interpretation of what is there in the Muni code, right? So
Right.
it's up to the city managers.
But that's sort of that, then you're getting to planning commission functions, right? Because they're,
we don't want that.
So David, let me give you an example to kind of illustrate kind of where this came from. So
right,
when the project, I think it's called the Westport project, I don't remember.
Cool.
The one on the, it's like opposite, where the, Mary Avenue.
Yeah.
That project. So we learned about this project from the public, and then we as a bike ped commission came forward and said, look, it would be fantastic to get a bike trail or a facility through that property. And when we made that recommendation, the point was, well, that's way too late. There's no way we can change the plan anymore to facilitate that. So the solution was not implemented. There's essentially no way to do it.
well, yeah,
How do we capture those big projects where there is opportunities for actually making the city a better place?
well, so I mean, I would argue we did that process with Westport because in the bike plan, it called for I think it was a class 1 facility
On the outside,
on the outside from
Yeah.
Mary to Stevens Creek and then class 4 along Stevens Creek.
right?
And that's
what happened.
And that's what we tried to get the developer to do. We were following the bike plan. So we wouldn't bring that to the commission because one of the 2022 bullet points was if the improvements of a project are within what's prescribed by the bike plan, then we're just doing what's already been approved. And so we're not going to bring that specifically to the commission. The developer told us, well, we don't have room to provide this bike path. So we're proposing doing a class 3 through the parking lot. We brought that to the commission because that was something separate from what was in the bike plan. And that was when the discussion we had that, well, and then we ended up with what we have. So kind of did that with Westport. But, you know, we still need to be mindful that in situations like that, that we bring the projects to the bike commission if something needs to be done that's different from what we would be doing by just following the bike plan.
For example, for a project like the Rise, typically, what would be interesting for us as a commission, I think, is to see for example, the developer to present, okay, these are the facilities that, for example, bike racks that are going to be available, the amenities that are going to be available to bike riders, and also looking at kind of what are the projections in terms of pedestrians like crossing, for example, Stevens Creek. So that we understand, is there a need here to change the intersection to make it, for example, an island to protect, because so many more pedestrians are going to come. I think that will be very valuable for us as a commission to understand. And again, council is going to be the ones, they are going to be the ones deciding, but we can make some inputs based on our expertise as to transportation matters. We can mention that to them. So.
Okay, in general, I think the item 5 is to capture the spirit of what the council asked us to do, or asked the staff to do. That's basically what that one is. Right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
bullet 2, where it says clarified that all projects in the policy will be reviewed by the bicycle. So the all projects sounds, catch all, right? Are we talking about, just, transportation projects? Because I don't want planning commission projects coming here.
No, it's, and yeah, I mean, that's a squishy one, because again, that wasn't really the intent of.
So should we qualify it, say, all.
Transportation related
projects,
projects.
yeah.
Projects we can say.
That seems like is
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah. So the item number 2, clarify that all transportation related
Projects,
projects,
yeah, all transportation projects.
in the policy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Others, the planning commission projects will end up on our take test that we don't want that.
Yeah, again, this is the policy for bicycle and
Yeah,
transportation project review. So it's kind of given that,
it's underneath that. right?
yeah.
So if you decide there's a joint meeting, is there like established procedure about how that joint meeting works? I mean, it's like, who's the chair, it's like a voting structure, I mean, how is that going to,
I don't know, to be honest.
Things like that are defined in the municipal code, right? The way,
Joint meetings?
no, these meetings, for example, they are,
Right, yeah.
but if we could, that would be an entirely new structure that would need to be defined, right? That would-
Yeah, I mean, like we're talking about, they've been held in the past. And
So-
generally just been more of like study sessions to provide information about projects and receive input without formal motions.
Yeah, I think there are motions in the joint meetings. It's mostly study and learning and,
Yeah.
educate the
Yeah.
public type of thing.
and mostly staff was kind of facilitating that meeting and discussion. There wasn't a formal
There
chair.
was no chair.
Yeah,
So if we're talking all about the same thing, like if we could say there could be joint meetings for educational purposes, or clarification about some projects, and then if there are some motions, then that should be separate meetings. Then we clarify all that.
I think
For-
that's why they're called study sessions, right?
Study sessions
Yeah,
could be,
it's a-
we could call it study sessions literally and say without a specific motion, and then if there's a motion, it has to be held separately for the reasons that we just mentioned.
Sometimes so we don't know if, like,
Then the study session would be like, okay, you have to come separate ways, go back to your
I think this-
own commission, and then that's where we can make the motion.
yeah, but then we get into, it's nice to know ahead of time through a policy what the expectation is, because say when we're setting scope and budget for projects, we just can't keep going back to commissions because we haven't budgeted for it.
I think let's leave the item number 1 there, right? Because it gives some discretion for the city manager to make that determination. So even though we say staff, it's actually the manager, right? So I think let's call this question. So are you all fine with
Looks good to me.
good? Okay, so who would like to
Just
propose?
read it one more time, just read.
Okay, sure, please. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I would say is maybe to clarify that all transportation projects in the policy would be reviewed by the pedestrian commission. That's not what we're saying in the policy. We're saying some of them are going to go directly and don't need the approval of the bike commission, right?
Well, no, anything that we would use this document for would by default be going to the bike.
The things that are in the flow chart, the one that say bike mobility project, safety, striping, signage, pathways. This is.
Yeah, and then what that means is that if those type of projects only go to the bike commission, wouldn't.
Think of the first box here as
Okay.
by commission responsibility.
Okay.
Right,
I was confused by that as well.
Yeah.
You clarified
This
this
one, okay, yeah. Well, then,
and that's what this statement is actually saying.
okay, perfect, then,
I mean, is it possible you have a planning project that comes up as it comes to the bike commission, we comment on it, but the planning commission gets final review. If there's a
So,
bike ped project coming to us, we get the final review. Is that?
yeah, so for review, instead of last point, you're saying PPC for comment, it's just PPC for review.
We
Not be just comment, right? It's, yeah,
Review.
is the word final necessary?
doesn't matter whether final or.
No, because the final review, for like development projects, it's staff really,
Well,
or city council.
but within the commission structure is what I'm saying.
Again, it would be the bike commission and the planning commission would, if, as appropriate, would advise.
Stuff let's, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, because I'll give you an example, like with the Rise, there's so much back and forth with the developer just because we know what should be done and they can't be done because there's a tree. Okay, well, then we meet again and then there's so much back and forth that the final ends up happening after months and months of negotiations with the developer and ultimately goes to city council for approval.
Okay, sounds good. Is there someone who can move
I
this?
move to approve this motion as it is listed out here.
And do we have a second?
I will second it.
Okay, for the motion on the screen, how do you vote, Chair Ganga?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes,
Vice Chair Eshelbeck,
yes.
Commissioner Madi Patwa,
Yes.
Commissioner Marcy, Commissioner Wolf,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
All right. Thank you. That was a good discussion. So with that, we conclude that agenda item. Number 2, let's move on to the next item, which is 3, which is staff update and commissioner activity report.
My only update was gonna be that we're gonna hold a joint commission. In January, in light of discussion. I will reconsider that and reach out to you all at a later point in time with what we would like to propose to do. Yeah, that is my only update.
All right, and then is there any VTA?
Yes,
Commissioner Marcy.
so there was a meeting last week for BTA. The only thing that caught my attention as far as Cupertino is concerned is that they mentioned that the McLennan Bridge was one of the part of the projects, I think on the list of ITP projects. Is that
ITP.
ITP? I think it's ITP. I just wanted to clarify with you if that's something that's you're aware of or.
I will take that question back and get an answer. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm not involved in the McCollin Road Bridge project, but I'll find out.
All right, thank you. And I would like to bring up one item, like this is the active transportation plan. I think there was a study session which happened and went to the planning commission, and after that it also went to the city council. One thing is like the bicycle pedestrian commission had made recommendation, but that was not presented to the council. It was not included in the staff report. I think we spend a lot of time as a commission to, provide the recommendations, and that needs to be presented to the council. The same thing happened with the planning commission as well. It went to the planning commission, and that information also, in fact, they had a formal motion as well and was not presented as well. So it makes sense if you're spending so much time in the commissions to gather input. I think it's also the staff's responsibility to make sure that it's presented to the council.
Yeah, and just to explain that a little bit, your input and the planning commission's input was certainly being considered by staff in the development of the plan. Our intent was that we just wanted city council to also provide their input because we weren't going for final approval. We just wanted to get feedback from you, from the planning commission, from the city council, and then staff would take all of that back, make revisions as appropriate, and then bring forward a second draft of the plan. So it wasn't that we were discounting your recommendations. It's just the intent wasn't that these were to be your recommendations to council. These were your recommendations for staff in the development of the plan as we move forward in the development.
It's good to, present that.
I understand, yeah, and
So that-
moving forward, we'll be including that in agendas, but I just want to explain why that.
As an appendix, but I think having it.
Yeah, yeah.
They have a. And also kind of validates
Mhm.
why we are spending.
I understand.
Right, okay, thank you. Any other? Report? Okay. So with that, let's move on to item number, this is a future agenda item. Can you bring up, some? Yeah, that's the top, right? When is it coming? Is Cupertino ATP? That's,
Yeah, but we're anticipating coming back to the commissions in January.
Yeah,
okay.
John.
Okay.
So
Oh, yeah,
when is the next meeting, like in December?
The bike commission meeting?
Yeah.
The third Wednesday, whatever that is. Let me check the calendar.
Trying to see what day is that, like a date,
It is the 17th.
17th.
Would we have the results of
I'll be
the
out from the second.
study for Torrey Avenue? By then?
We may. We're doing the counts like now. So,
I drove on it.
okay. Did you drive slow?
I wanna-
You're doing the day there. Yeah, I don't know if I'll have the study complete or not in December. If I'll try, and if I do, I'll work with Alago and put that on the agenda.
we'll hope that, all the inputs that we provided, is
Yes.
going to be there. And then, it's supposed, when this is the time when in December, I think, right, we will be discussing about CIP projects, and we'll also be discussing about the city work plan items, what the commission will be making recommendations. And so I think that should come up as well.
Last year, we didn't do any recommendation.
Yeah, I need to find out what the process is going to be for this year.
Yeah, I think it would be great.
Yeah, maybe we can put it as a placeholder. You can check with the city manager to see whether it's going to come here or not. If it is not, then we can always take it out. So
Your program?
CIP and city work program. Typically, we bring that together or separately as well, but we need to capture both of them. If there's no budget and the council says we don't need any recommend inputs, then that's fine.
December. And you can put Torrey Avenue for December, possibly.
Yeah, I noticed that you're already starting to collect data
Mhm.
on Torrey Avenue. Anything else?
Oh, yeah, actually, there is something else. Apple has requested a traffic signal at Tantow and Forge
Mhm.
to assist with pedestrian crossings on Tantow at that location. They would fund it. So we've asked them to do a warrant study to show whether or not it meets the Caltrans prescribed traffic signal warrants. So ultimately, we would be taking this to city council to approve the installation of the signal. But since it,
Tank out between where like Homestead and Stewart Creek.
yeah, it's near the north end of that segment. Yeah. It's like one long block south of Homestead. So we will bring that to the bike commission for review prior to going to city council. So I don't know if that'll happen in December or not. If, look like December might be full. But December or January, we can bring that to the bike commission.
What's the crossroad? Just want to check.
Tantow and Forge.
Forge.
Forge, yeah, there's a crosswalk there now across Tantow with the pedestrian action light.
500.
Okay, I think that looks good. Can you go all the way to miscellaneous here? Any other inputs? So if none, I think that we can conclude the future agenda setting as well. And the time now is 8:50 and the meeting is adjourned.